Welcome to the Teacher Wellness Lounge. I am so glad that you stopped by to hang out with me for a few minutes. I am your host, Leticia Jones, and again, I'm just glad you stopped by. Want to take the next few minutes to talk to you about practicing silence in a noisy world. Now, I know when I say the words silence and solitude, we probably get the idea of a monk that is somewhere at a monastery just practicing silence and connecting with God all day long and not chatting. But in all actuality, the practice of silence and solitude, I think it's a spiritual discipline that could really help us all, even in the midst of being surrounded by people. So, the first myth that I want to bust, if you will, is that in order to practice solitude and silence, you must be hidden away somewhere, away from all civilization. That is not true. In fact, silence and solitude is actually more of a state of being and a way of living as opposed to where you are physically at the present time. Now, you and I both know that the world is noisy, that we're surrounded by sound. And you know what? Some sound is great. However, I'm talking about those things that pull at us, the things that are constantly vying for our attention. We really need, I believe, to learn how to steal away and to just regroup. And sometimes it actually does mean a retreat. I've gained so many things, and so much growth has come from my intentionality around silent retreats and mindfulness retreats and just getting away. Those are all wonderful. But I think, one of the things that we often talk about at the end of those retreats is, gosh, now we have to return to the real world, right? And so the idea is to bring those practices of silence and of solitude into our practical day to day living. And before we do that, I just want to caution you that you might get a little addicted to this silence and the solitude. So don't be surprised if once you start practicing, you don't want to stop, because it really does seem to refresh the soul and really rejuvenate us in a way that we can't imagine. Okay? So with that being said, how can I achieve silence and solitude in a noisy world? How can I begin to make this a way of life? How can I actually practice this or begin to practice even if I'm in a room full of people and in a room full of noise and just human stimulus, if you will? Well, the first thing is, and I've talked about this before, is really connecting with our breath, really learning how to practice deep breathing. And you can do that, it doesn't matter who's in the room, but really being mindful and conscious about our breath and how important, first of all, that it is to us, and how really when you focus on your breath and simply check in, that can be something that changes the game for us no matter where we are. The other thing is monitoring our consumption, not just the consumption of food, but again, of social media, of what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're reading. Are these things causing noise for you? Are they causing you to take your focus off of the things that are important to you? Now, if you don't know what you're focusing on and you have no focus, that's a snack, a wellness snack for another time. But really monitoring our consumption is really important. Just thinking about the things that are just causing unnecessary noise in our lives. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I am consuming too many true crime stories. Now, to my defense, at some point in my life, I thought I was going to be a criminal psychologist. And so I've been hooked as a kid on the thinking and the psychology and behavior of serial killers and people that commit crimes. I know it sounds a little bit morbid, but I have noticed that I've been consuming those types of shows during this quarantine far too much, and it's causing undue noise. And I think my family's a little concerned because they think I may be able to get away with murder. I'm just joking. But you get the point. It's about being aware, checking in, and noticing, hey, I'm consuming a little bit too much of this, too much of that, and it's disrupting my peace. And so we need to scale back. And crime does disrupt peace, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Reducing the noise. Have you noticed, and I've noticed this when I call my mom. My mom is very vibrant and energetic, and she will have her computer going, the TV in the room, in the living room. On top of that, she loves radio, so she'll have radio playing. All of this is going at the same time. And so I think that's a great place to reduce the noise. Now, I'm not telling my mom what to do, but you get the picture. We're consumed by stimuli, by noise. And at the end of the day, it really robs us of really connecting with who we are on the inside. So think about places where you could reduce the noise. The other thing is meditation. Meditation is a practice, obviously, most of us know this, but it does not have to be 20, 30, 40, 50. I mean, I've seen guided meditations that are 2 hours long. Wherever you are in that spectrum is fine, but just know that in practical terms, practicing meditation can be as simple as 5 to 7 minutes. There is a wonderful YouTube channel, the mindfulness channel, and it is great because it has meditations that are very short. So think about incorporating short, brief meditations throughout your day. Things that I like to call micro practices. Small chunks of self-care throughout the day will really help us to build our muscle, our wellness muscle, and keep burnout, anxiety away. And the last thing is gratitude. Gratitude is just such a wonderful way of really staying grounded, of really, how shall I put it, navigate through the noise because you're focusing on the things that matter, the things that bring you joy. So how do we practice and how do we become better at becoming silent and stealing away in the midst of chaos and a noisy world that's pulling at us at every minute of the day? Deep breathing and checking in with ourselves, monitoring our consumption, whether it's food, TV shows, like me, my true crimes, what we're reading. Are they adding value? Are they bringing too much noise and chaos to us? Reducing the physical noise. Is your house like my mom's with everything going? And there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes toning it down and bringing it down is what we need to just regroup. Meditation and, of course, gratitude is always top of the list as a wonderful way of monitoring our self-care and our mental health and just practicing different spiritual disciplines. Next, why would I want to do these things? Why? What is the value added, right? We all want to know, how is this going to improve? How is this going to solve a problem? How is this going to help my life in any way, shape, or form? Well, I'll tell you, practicing silence and solitude gives us greater clarity. A lot of our frustration comes from the fact that we have to make decisions, and a lot of times we don't know whether to go left or right or keep on the straight path, right? We don't know where to go. So this disciplining ourselves in this way brings us clarity. It allows us and helps us to process our emotions, right? Because we're checking in and we're not suppressing. And a lot of anxiety and the stress that we endure or we battle with has a lot to do with processed emotions and feelings. This type of practice, the solitude and silence, is really great for making us better decision makers. And did you know that when we are under stress and anxiety, the mechanisms in our body that are have been designed to bring healing to us actually shut down when we are stressed and anxious. But actually practicing silence and solitude and learning to be still and reduce the noise actually unleashes or enables, if you will, the mechanisms in your body that promote healing. So a lot of our physical illness is a result of these mechanisms being shut down because of overstimulation and not just recharging and stealing away. So I love that. Is my favorite benefit of this practice. And of course, it helps us to connect with our overall needs. Several weeks ago, I talked about actually being able to articulate your needs. And are you able to do that? Well, solitude and silence allows us to really be reflective, think about what our needs are, and then devise a plan of action to help us through. I certainly hope that this episode has helped you, will help you. And as always, in the description, you'll find some extra goodies and extra resources to support you and continue to build your self-care toolbox. And as always, like, subscribe, and tell a friend. Until next time, friends, journey well.